Give it another minute or two. Looks like I don't have people talking in. I know it's Friday evening in India. Not sure about folks in the US, but give it another minute. All right, so looks like I don't have a lot of people joining in, and I'll welcome anyone who joins in. But anyway, I'll go ahead and get started. Let me just get some settings on. I want to make sure this is visible to all my social media channels. So just give me a sec. Okay, so like they say, mm, you gotta follow processes. So following your process here. Let me go on and get this started. Doesn't matter if anyone comes in and shows up or not. Give me a second while. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm just gonna talk about my life lessons and maybe even talk about the future that I'm thinking. And this is for all my friends and family all around the world. So hearing an echoes, just give me a second. Let me fix this. Hopefully it's okay now. Okay, so if you can see my screen, I'm just gonna talk about some of my life lessons. I'm gonna keep it sharp. Okay, so here is my journey. I started my life as a newborn baby in 1983. I studied mechanical engineering, and like many students in India would study engineering or become a doctor. I became a mechanical engineer. But I was a unique guy, given that I come from a region western part of India. There's several entrepreneurs from that region. Reliance is one of them. Adani's is another one. But those are the famous ones. There are many smaller entrepreneurs from that region. So, I and my friend figured while engineering is great, let's do something more. And we tied up with a small company called Zeus Numerics out of IIT Bombay, which is an aerospace company. And ideally, you would, want to learn computational fluid dynamics as a mechanical engineer, high in demand skill, niche skill. We didn't do that. We took a partnership for selling those software licenses. It didn't go anywhere as I got my first job with Satyam for GE Consumer and Industrial Business. This was for Louisville, Kentucky. I joined as such Satyam, and I was offered .NET training, and many of my friends who may be seeing me now or may see me later know that if I had stayed the path, I would probably be in US, I would have a green card, and I would be a US citizen. I didn't do that. I always wanted to be a mechanical engineer, so I interviewed within the company. I and a friend of mine who may be listening in. We went and joined G Consumer and Industrial Business, which was run out of Louisville, Kentucky. I was part of the wet products team. And, as a young engineer, I was given the CAD jobs and simply, updating a title block of a drawing. Back then, ROHS was a big deal, so we started doing that, did that for a while, but got bored. Then I got pulled into some of the LGQ analysis. I also got some of my early lessons into Six Sigma. As some of you may know, GE was big on Six Sigma back in those days. And I moved on within a year and a half because I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And I founded another company on my own, and it was called eMaxis Technologies Limited. It's a small little company based out of Gandhinagar in Gujarat. That's where my home was. So that's where I went in, set it up in a big IT park. It didn't go anywhere. We spent about a year. Three of us kind of joined. Two of my college buddies joined in, and I think they would have felt they got born too. But I think it was an experience in itself where I did everything. As an entrepreneur, you end up doing, finance, legal, even writing MOA and AOA of a company. I did it myself. Signing a lease agreement. I did that myself. Selling your services. I did that myself. I used to have sweat on my t-shirts and shirts, and I used to run to several industrial areas. Eventually, we won a few contracts, but it didn't go anywhere, because we ran out of working capital. I was a kid, maybe 21, 22-year-old kid. Moving on, I had to get back to work. So I moved to a city called Bangalore, which is called Silicon Valley of India. And it was very interesting. I didn't get any job because I was out of the job. I'd burnt a lot of money. In today's currency, I think it was close to, let's say, 150,000 US dollars that I'd burnt. And it was all mom's dad's money. Moved on, worked with another small company called, I don't even remember the name, but I actually did the tech support for Apple. I was doing amazing shifts, and some of my friends who might be listening in know that I did that for about 3 months. Again, did not enjoy that. I just did that, fill my stomach. Eventually moved on to a company called ACS, where I spent about couple years. But I think this was a great experience working with General Motors, North America Supplier Quality Group. We're doing graveyard shifts, 5:30 to 3:30 India time, typical EST shift, working with folks in Detroit, Canada, Mexico, and buying off their parts, essentially, working on the PFAP packages, buying up their parts, giving them the approvals, making sure our cars were produced on schedule and with the highest quality that was possible. It was fun, but again, not fulfilling. So I kind of started appearing for interviews, got lots of jobs. But Goodrich is something that came about at the time, and that was something that I loved, especially because it was in a startup mode. When I went into the facility, the road was not even paved. And aerospace is something that always fascinated me. So I went in and joined Goodrich. Given my quality experience, folks there thought I would add significant value to quality. And I did the quality job for about 4.5 years. I ran the quality management system. I implemented a tool. I even contributed to ITSO certification. This was the first ITSOA, by the way, for Goodrich, or rather India, where a very senior colleague of mine worked with the FAA and DGCA, and this was a very successful project. We also did AS 9100 transition to revision C. We worked on several other projects, including bringing in a process called GPI. It's essentially your passport or gate review process that we kind of built into our quality management system. And 2012 was the time when Goodrich was taken over by UTC, and I moved over to a different role because again, and I was getting a lot of breadth, but I was not getting depth, and hence I moved into program management role. By then, I'd done my project management certification, and again, this was based on my failures. And my first startup, or rather second startup, I failed because I didn't know how to estimate. I can tell you, I quoted what maybe $10, not even $10, maybe $5 per drawing. And that was terrible quoting. In fact, their own employees wouldn't quote that. And that's why I went in and did project management, estimation, risk management, stakeholder management. Is something that I learned early on. 2010 is when I passed out with my PMP certification. Many senior folks joined along with me. And I said, hey, this was time to move on to program management, project management. I had several jobs. Yeah, again, and I picked up a job for aerostructures business to stand up the project management office. And a very senior colleague who ran global engineering at the time interviewed me and offered me a job. I was very happy to go in, but here comes the surprise. This business was still nascent. It was around 2012. This business had just started about 4 or 5 years, and project management was not even properly heard. Technical manager was responsible for everything: project management, technical management, people management. And now you were there and were saying, "Hey, I want to build a project management team." So we hired a few smart kids. We started building the team. But there was a lot of resistance, and we had to manage the change. There was a point in time when we were told, "You guys are not needed anymore," and we persisted. Eventually, it became a very successful team. Moving on, we said, "Okay, now there's several things that we did along the way, and I'll talk about that." But sometime later, Collins Aerospace, I mean, UTC went and bought Rockwell Collins, and it became Collins Aerospace. And then UTC kind of spun off Otis and Carrier and bought Raytheon, or merger of equals, and we became the RTX as it's called today. In the process, I also obtained several education certifications. Symbiosis is where I went for my supply chain, and I paused my education for almost a decade because I wanted to apply everything that I learned. I went to Wharton last year. I graduated from Wharton as part of their C-suite program. And I think that's helped me to get to whichever place I am. That's my beautiful family out there. Some of my favorite movies, every single one of Fast and Furious movies, I've watched it. And I think I was talking to another senior colleague about Jamaica version of Fast and Furious. Dan Brown is my favorite author. There are several other authors that I've been reading off late. And one of my favorite books off late has been Jonathan Livingston Seagull. That's what has made me what I am today, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today. Those are all my experiences. Moving on to the next slide. So here is what I did within RTX, and RTX is where I spend most of the time. So I'm talking a little bit about my RTX experiences. I ran the QMS, like I say. I ran the project management office for the sales business. And even, there was a point in time when there was a significant amount of hiring freeze, and we couldn't hire people. There was money, but there was no hiring. So how do we ramp up? How do we still get the work done? So we work with a lot of these suppliers, and in fact, two of these suppliers set up an offshore development center right next to our site. And it was not easy. Again, there was quite a bit of change that we had to manage. It was quite successful, I would say. And then came the pandemic. And when the pandemic came, we said, again, engineering work was going down significantly. We had to find ways to survive, first of all. And one of the things that we did was, we built an off support team. Again, it was ground up, inch by inch, we had to build it. There are three teams that we built: quality engineering, and I'm very proud that it's become a center of excellence now. Manufacturing engineering, I think we've not been able to scale it to the level we would like. I 4.0, again, happens to be a team of product managers, project managers. The rest of the work is done by the teams that can do the work. Again, we always use the concept of, work with everyone, collaborate with everyone, and grow everyone. The other thing that we did at the time, business was aerostructures business was going through a little bit of doldrums because Airbus was coming behind our missile market. And my very senior colleague who ran the global engineering showed us the deck in one of the meetings in Singapore. And he said, "Hey, is there something that we could do from India?" And we started this journey from scrapyard. We picked up a door from scrapyard. We reverse engineered it. We proved it to our teams back in US and San Diego that this makes sense. And since then, we reverse engineered several doors. We built a metallic door center of excellence. Again, at a certain point in time, it was pulled out of that nacelle program, and doors was kind of shelved, so that never came to fruition. The third thing that we did was Saras Mark II, which is a 19-seater turboprop aircraft. We worked again with the San Diego business, and bid. Essentially, we submitted a JDP, joint development proposal, which could have unlocked significant amount of value. Again, it didn't go anywhere because there's a lot of risk. We didn't understand the government procurement systems. We said, okay, that's fine. Moving on, after all this work, we did several rounds of events within the company and said, hey, does it make sense to look at this market? And there was one work stream that I was personally assigned. We spent significant time. You see a picture there. Several of my colleagues went to Delhi, attended this conference, networked with all the C-suite folks within the Indian MRO industry. And we learned a lot. We built a business case, and there's more work that Collins, I'm sure, is going to do, RTX, I'm sure, is going to do. Moving on, we said, okay, MRO is great, but then there's defense programs that we should potentially look at. So again, customer account management and strategy folks came over. We hosted a workshop, and we down selected two programs: Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, which is a fifth gen fighter that India is building today, and I'm sure India will build it. It's just a matter of time. India built an indigenous fighter called LCA Tejas, which is a 4.5 generation aircraft. I know there is a ramp up challenges, but who doesn't have ramp up challenges? The second one was an Indian multi-role helicopter, which HAL is building, and we met with their senior leadership and figured ways of working. In the process, I learned a lot, and I've enjoyed my experiences at RTX. I worked with folks in US. I even met Marshall Larson for a few seconds at Charlotte in US. I worked with teams in France, never got a chance to go to France. Several of my colleagues went, worked with folks in Mexicali, and this was phenomenal facility that my friends built. Singapore was another home. We stayed in Little India, and it was fun always to be out there. Again, these are the colleagues that I worked with, Poland and Puerto Rico. Never got a chance to go there, but it was fun while I was at RTX. Moving on to the next slide. Um, Sorry, I'm just flipping slides. So this is a slide I wanted to talk through, and this is something that I learned as part of my Wharton executive education. There's a very famous professor whose name is Professor Michael Singh, who taught us how to use a leader's checklist and how to customize it according to you. So as you can see, there are 16 items, just like a pilot. Every leader must have a checklist, and you must make sure every single day when you come to work, you take this checklist. And this is what I did. Many of them are just left and shift from the checklist version that Professor Rasim has, but I added two of them. And those are personal to me. Number one is walk the talk. Whatever you say, you must do it. Number two, build mutual trust and respect. This is fundamental. Maybe I learned it from Goodrich days. Maybe I learned it from my culture, where we always respected everyone. And in our language, we call them an elder brother. A couple of areas where I thought I significantly require an improvement, and I'm still working most of them. One of them is dampen down over optimism and pessimism. I'm a die-hard optimist, so I always push really hard and could get onto people's nerves. People may not like it. I get it, and I'm working on it. The other one is decide decisively. I think I'm getting better at it now that I'm out of RTS. I think I understand. I'm getting better at it. And the last one is developing leadership in others. Leadership in others is very important. I think I'm very proud of building several leaders. There are folks that have worked with me and have been successful all over the globe. There are several friends of mine who are in Canada, some in US, some in Dubai, some in Singapore. And I intend to scale these efforts. My goal is to develop at least 100 leaders whomsoever I can help. And this is all going to be more or less free of cost. This is something that I'm doing to become better at leadership. Okay, so these are the principles that this is from my personal project that I did. And these are the principles that I plan to apply. I'm still working on most of them. And number one is all the world is a stage. If you have not listened to the speech, please listen to a speech that was made at Gettysburg. Abraham Lincoln made the best speech ever. It's a 30 second, not 30 second, maybe 60-second or a 90-second speech, but every single word of that speech is crafted really well. And I'm trying to use that principle. The second one is, of course, use your leaders checklist. Third one is strengthening leading up skills. It's not about just leading down, it's about leading sidewards, it's leading upwards. And there are several cases around how leading up has helped transform companies and make right decisions. The other one is network, network, and network. Network is the networks, and I'm proud of it. But one of the things that I'm working on is following it up, making sure you're closing the loop. You may network, you may say hi, hello, but you got to close the loop. And the last and not the least, you got to be an excellent storyteller. People don't listen to amazing presentation. People listen to stories that touch hearts. So you got to be storyteller. Also, you got to learn humor, and that's a great way to engage with your audiences. Next one, that's been my time, but I'm just gonna talk a little bit about what I'm thinking is my future. And I'm still working this. One of the options that I'm thinking is get on to C-suite of one of the large aerospace and defense companies. If not, get into some small and medium companies. World is a playground as such for me, and I'm happy to talk to any of you, collaborate with any of you. The other option I'm considering is starting up on my own. And again, three lines of businesses that I'm thinking, but one of the lines that I would personally own would be the aerospace and defense, private equity, venture capital, building startups, helping startups sell their stuff, scale the companies, also, potentially do consulting. And this is again going to be global. It's going to be remote, gig jobs. Eventually, though, I want to build planes. And I'm proud about my country, so potentially want to build planes out of India. But happy to look at other options because I know there are governments all around the world that wants to build plane and develop the A&D ecosystem. So happy to collaborate with any of you. Any of you have any further ideas? Happy to listen into. Thank you. Thank you.